Okay, so if you're a parent of a young kid, I bet you've seen something like this. Papers come home from school and they're just filled with all these terms that feel like you're trying to read a secret language. Well, guess what? Today, we are cracking that code. We're going to figure out what is really going on in your child's classroom.
Yeah, this thing right here, the classic peek at our week. It's packed with stuff, right? You've got your essential questions, spelling words, vocabulary words, but hang on, look over on the right. See that little box? HF words. And, that is where the real mystery begins.
So you're probably asking, what in the world are HF words? Or maybe you've heard them called heart words. And the big one is, why aren't kids supposed to sound these words out? It's the kind of thing that can really make you scratch your head, right? Because on one hand, you're told, oh yeah, your kid's learning to read by sounding out letters. But then, bam, there's this whole other group of words with totally different rules. So what's the deal? Let's break it all down.
Okay, first things first. Let's start with the foundation, with the words kids are supposed to sound out. This is where we get into phonics. And don't let the word scare you. It's really just a fancy way of saying we're connecting letters to the sounds they make. Simple as that.
So the most basic, teeny tiny building block of all of this is something called a phoneme. All that means is the smallest single sound in a word. Think about the word cat. You don't actually hear 3 letters, do you? Nope. You hear 3 sounds. K, a, t. That's it. That's the bedrock right there of learning how to read.
So how does this actually look in a classroom? Well, teachers have this really cool activity they call stretching. They get the kids to take a word and literally S-T-R-E-T-C-H it out, isolating every single one of those tiny little phoneme sounds. It's actually a pretty brilliant way to make a sound-based concept physical. And the process itself is super concrete, which is great for kids. So first, they'll say the word really slowly together, like ale. Then, for every sound they hear, they color in a little circle. So they'd color one for the sound, one for that I sound in the middle, and one for the ul sound at the end. And then the last step is connecting those sounds back to the letters that make them. It's this awesome hands-on way to literally build a word from its parts.
And listen, this isn't just some first-grade trick they forget about. No way. These phonics skills build on each other year after year. In kindergarten, it's all about rhyming and figuring out the first sound in a word. But then, by 2nd grade, they're tackling bigger sound chunks, like the k you hear at the end of back. Fast forward to 4th grade, and they're tackling really complex chunks from Latin, like tation. It really is like climbing a ladder of learning.
Okay, that all makes sense, right? But what about the words that just don't play by the rules? This is where we meet the rule breakers. If we go back to that weekly plan, they were called HF words, which just stands for high frequency. But a lot of teachers have a much better name for them, heart words. And it's for a simple reason. You just have to know them by heart.
And the instruction from the teacher is super clear. It's explicit. Do not have your child sound these words out. So why not? Well, think about it. If you try to sound out a word like who or said, using those nice phonics rules we just learned, it's a disaster. It just leads to total frustration because it doesn't work. These words, they have to be learned in a totally different way.
This really lays it all out, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the spellingless words, male, rain, chain. They all follow that same predictable AI or AY sound pattern. But then look on the right. You've got the heart words, our, give, they, said, who. These guys are phonetic rebels. Every single one breaks the rules in its own special way. And a lot of that is just because English is this messy language that's borrowed words from all over the place for centuries.
And here are some more of the usual suspects, the common culprits. Words like was, have, said. See, these words pop up all the time in everything we read. And if a kid has to stop and try to sound them out every single time, well, reading just becomes a total chore. They'll never get that smooth, fluent rhythm. That's exactly why they're learned by heart, so they can be recognized instantly in a split second.
So, okay, we've got 2 main strategies, right? Sounding out the words that follow the rules and memorizing the ones that break them. But why? What's the point of all this? What's the end game? It's definitely not just about being able to say the words out loud. The ultimate goal, the whole reason we do this, is comprehension. It's about actually understanding the story.
Let's just jump back to that peek at our week for a second. See that essential question right up at the top? How do animals' bodies help them? Every single bit of this work, the phonics, the heart words, the vocab, it's all pointed at one thing: giving a child the tools they need to read a story and actually think about and answer that big, interesting question.
And, it's not just one single skill.
Reading comprehension is like a whole toolkit of different abilities. It's about being able to follow the plot, what happens next. It's about learning new words just from the context of the story. It's even about analyzing why the author chose to write something a certain way. And of course, it all comes back to being able to ask and answer questions about what you've just read.
So we've got these two key strategies, decoding the patterns and memorizing the exceptions. Let's just pull back for a second and look at the big picture, what we can call the modern reader's toolkit. When you get right down to it, it's this really elegant, two-pronged attack. First, you give kids this powerful system, Phonics, to decode the huge majority of English words that actually follow predictable rules. And then, for that handful of super common but kind of quirky words that don't, you give them a totally different tool, just pure memorization. And when you use both of these strategies together, something amazing happens. We're not just teaching kids how to call out words from a list, we're building skilled, confident readers. Readers who have the flexibility and all the right tools to tackle pretty much any text they come across. And that frees up their brain power to stop struggling with the page and start really understanding the world the author has created for them.
So, there you have it. You've cracked the classroom code. Which just leaves one last question for you. Knowing what you know now, how might you change storytime tonight? When you're sitting down with that book, what are you going to listen for? And how can you help your little reader on their amazing journey?